Hello again, welcome to PaintersBlock. I'm your host, Anthony Ryden, and today we will be going over the body for the armored Mega Gargant Kitbash, and just the basic layering of it. And you're going to need your file, preferably a larger one, the one I'm using, some super glue, and some clippers, whichever ones your favorite are. And I go over my preferable ones in my last video. I'll put a link down below. But otherwise, once we have all that, we can get started. Now, I grabbed this piece of netting from my Gargant box, and it's what normally goes around his belly. He has one already on, and a lot of the Gargants will have that, but the one that I used was King Broad, so he didn't use it, so I ended up being able to have another one, and this is going to be like the netting that holds most of the armor pieces together around his chest, so I really wanted to make sure that this goes on first. And I wanted to make sure that this scoots underneath that Megalodon jaw collar that we have. That way it really all just looks, well, because it is actually all fitting together like a shirt. So yeah, we're just going to put that there and cut off whatever little pieces that kind of don't work or just kind of pop it too far off of his chest. But we do want it to look like it isn't just connected directly to his chest. And then we're just going to add a little bit of glue to the little areas underneath the jaw and a little bit just over to the side, just to get it to stick to his body. But yeah, those would be nice little connection points for all of our shielding and little bits that we're going to make his scrapped together armor. It literally does have a fishnet on, but that's just going to go underneath his armor. You're not going to see it much, but it is going to give enough of a detail so you'll see that things are pieced together, so it'll look less like it's glued all together and more like a scrapped together piece of armor that's all roped together. And here I have a piece from my Great Unclean one. It's from the Rotigus version, and I really like that horn that comes out and just the way that it actually shapes to his shoulder. So I'm going to use this for like a little shoulder pad that's going to drape down from his helmet and meet his front of his body armor to the back of his body armor. It's going to be a really nice connection piece. It's also going to add a lot of animation with just how that flowy cloth is moving and the way his arm is moving. It's going to really work and piece together nicely. Here's my miscellaneous bag, and this is where I stick all of my ropes, my beams, all of my little things that I think are going to be useful for multiple various projects. And yeah, I'm just going to put this all around. It's kind of like where I found for this netting and everything that connects the helmet together. And yeah, we're just going to put all of this together and connect it with these ropes, because I'm going to really give that scavenged look and really put together this aesthetic. So here's my pile of ropes and anything that kind of like that, tubing, and then here's my pile of like beams and support, things with more like heavy support or structure. And then this is my pile of just random stuff, including this little guy that I think is going to be great. It's going to just be the back piece from the Gargant box. I said in the last video, but I'll say again, this one, a lot of these bits really just come from Gargants and from Titans. So if you have those two things and you have those two armies, you probably have a lot of these things to make. And it'd be pretty cool. So you're just going to take these that back piece and you're going to connect it to these ropes in the front, and it's going to just make this makeshift coat shirt that this guy just put together. It's going to be pretty fun. You can grab your glue, whatever one you prefer. People like plastic glue because it'll meld together. It's really nice, but I just find Loctite glue works a little faster, for me at least. And I'm just going to put that there, and it's going to connect, and it'll be ready for the next part. I'm really doing this kit bash just to show an example of how to break some painter's block. Sometimes you just kind of you just got done painting something big and you don't really want to paint something else, so it's kind of nice just to be able to kit bash something together and make your own model, something to get into painting again because you just built something. Here I'm just going to grab another piece of rope, and I'm going to connect that rope from the front chest piece to the back piece and just start connecting, like we said earlier, just to really make it like a makeshift shirt. And here we go. We're just going to stick that together, and there you have it. You can use a lot of these bits, besides just the ropes and the Titan bits, you can use any army's bits to make your own variation of this model. This is just mine with my bits, and I think that's the cool thing about this. Here's another bit from the Gargant box. It's just another variation of the Gargant, and I'm going to put this over that other one. Now I'm building a lot of upper body torso in order to really give him more of a beefier look. So he's going to be holding a really big loadout. He's going to be having a big cannon and this big melee weapon. So I'm going to grab my chest pieces and all these little bits that I had ready for him, including this turtle shell from the Gargant box again. This usually goes on broad stomach, so I had another one from this variation, and I just put it back on his stomach over the ropes that we had set. And this is how it's going to all connect. It actually makes it easier to glue too, because that rope's easier to connect to than the belly for some reason. I guess because of all the ridges. And then here is a little arm piece, I believe, from either the Gargant or the Vermin Lord. Not quite sure. But that one really fit really well on that little sharp piece of the turtle and going up towards the shoulder. And it looked really cool because it was like piercing into the other piece of armor, so it looked more authentic. Looked really nice. And then I grabbed another piece of this shield. I believe this is also from the Gargant box, so there you go. If you like this video and the last one, please leave a like. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. Fitting this piece in here is it's going to start building up into that shoulder insignia that you tend to see on heavy armored units, especially on like Stormcast Eternals. They have this like cool little shoulder badge that usually holds onto a cape. And my plan here is that I'm going to get this piece and this next piece right here, which is actually a Stormcast shield, as the emblem. And I'm going to get my green stuff, make a cape, and I'm going to connect it to that piece later, just to really pull it all together. And you know, that's just one way as you're building to come up with things on the fly. I didn't have that in mind at first, but as I saw this and I started getting all these shields together, I thought that looked cool. And then I grabbed this other piece. This is also from the Gargant box. This is just ropes and little gate pieces. It's really just a gold mine of bits, those Gargant boxes and the Titan boxes. And it just wrapped around his side so well. I just grabbed that, and you know what? I liked it so much, I got the other one, and I put it on the other side because it just worked perfectly. Why not? And they're flipped around, and they're just right underneath the armpit. They just work too perfectly. Really piecing together, but it's still a little bit light. I want this guy to be a heavy armored guy, so I'm gonna grab these gate pieces and I'm gonna put them around his hips, because normally when you have these heavy armored people, they usually even have like hip armor, and you know, they also worked really well, so well in fact I am going to grab my other one and put it on the other side. Yep, right here. Yeah, these Gargant boxes, cannot stress enough, gold mine in bits, absolute gold mine. So I'll just put this on this side, and it's gonna just make sure to put this over on top of his hip. I think this adds a little bit more to the animation of him walking forward, because the other one's like sliding backwards as he's stepping back, but the other one's sliding forward as he's walking forward. And then I'm gonna grab this other shield, and I figured I'd bore you if I showed you me cutting it again. Also, I lost the footage, very sorry. But I just cut the tops of the spear so I can fit it underneath there, grab some glue, and I'm going to stick this around his belt in the back, because I start realizing that the front's really armored, but the back is looking a little bit left out. So I'm going to grab some more shielding. So here's another Stormcast shield. I figured I want to put this on his hip, kind of covering one of those corners of the gate pieces, to make it look more like it's all roped together. And also kind of like he has this extra little Stormcast shield in case something ever happens to his emblem. He can just like take that one off his belt and put it back on. And this is a shield from the Titan. This normally goes over on top of the Titan's shoulder, so I thought I'd kind of do something similar over his shoulder. Now it's a little bit farther back, but that's because I have the other piece sticking up, and I'm going to stick a shoulder cannon on that side later. And this piece is from the Seraphon Bastillodon. and it comes from the melee version, which we created the ranged version when we made our Seraphon army. So this one was perfect for just putting here because this just the angle of it was great for the way his legs were. It pointed downwards and really arced upwards to create this framing pattern to really bring your eye up towards his body. And going on with that Seraphon theme, I grabbed this other Bastiladon headpiece, and I thought I'd make the headpiece that we have a little bit more interesting by adding this on. It's just how you can, don't worry about adding to whatever you just finished. If you see something cool, go ahead and put it on. And I found this other shield. We put this on top of the helmet earlier, and I really liked it. And I think I'm going to do the same thing. So that's centered in the back of his head. So I'm going to put that right there. It's going to look really nice in the back of his head. And I'm going to mirror this with the front of his armor too. I'm going to grab another one of my shields and put it on the front of his armor. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Because he started looking like, what happened if he gets hit in the back of the head? He just loses? No, I don't want that. He needed something there. And it kind of just filled that little gap. So here's my other one. And there's this hole in the center of that turtle armor. For one, I didn't like it because he's a heavy armored guy. He wouldn't like a hole there. For two, I don't want to paint inside that hole. That sounded really bad. So, cover it up with a nice emblem that we can still paint well, but not have to go inside a giant hole or a little hole and ruin our brushes. Right, so there we go. That's looking already pretty good. Now I just snapped off the club there because we're going to use this as a handle. I'm going to make a double chainsaw fist, and that handle's going to come in handy. Now I grabbed this this bell. This comes from the Great Unclean One, and it's one of his weapons. I believe it's like a flail that he has, or like a bell hammer, something like that. And they wrapped around his thighs really well, so I figured just continue down the gate and put this underneath it. And this other side had a little bit of a hanging piece, so it looked really nice being able to hang this underneath the gate. And then the other side had a hook, so I just hooked that onto a chain. And voila, they already look like they're connected to the rest of the armor. And they look like they're makeshift pieces of thigh armor. Thank you for coming in and checking out our armored Mega Gargant Titan Destroyer. Our next episode will be covering his weapons and his shoulder cannon and his chainsaw fist. I just wanted to say thank you for the 200 subs, and hope we broke your painter's block.